Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Vagina Healing Podcast. I am Dakira, and I'm a dietitian who has healed herself twice from two separate 2-year-long episodes of chronic vaginal infections and imbalances. I've healed myself naturally without medications from yeast, BV, mycoplasma, and ureaplasma. Today, I am multitasking by going on a walk while also recording a podcast episode. I tested out the sound quality twice to make sure that it sounds good, even if there's wind in the background, and it sounded great. So I hope that this episode comes out good. But I got this question on my TikTok feed, and I love talking to women about this because it can just make a really big difference in their life, and it's going over vaginal dryness. So I'm going to be going over what is vaginal dryness, what causes it, the risk of having vaginal dryness, and also what can we do to help naturally heal vaginal dryness. So first off, vaginal dryness is not just from perimenopause or from menopause. It can be from many different things. It can be from dehydration. It can be from lack of foreplay, depending on the circumstance of the vaginal dryness. It can be many different things. So it's not only women in their 40s and 50s that deal with vaginal dryness. It can be anybody, because I've even dealt with it before in the past. And it can also be an effect of reoccurring vaginal infections as well. So it affects women of all ages, but I feel like a lot of women are embarrassed to talk about it, especially when it comes to intimacy and sex. A lot of women feel embarrassed that they're not wet enough or that their vagina is broken. But oftentimes during sex, it's usually the guy's fault as to why you're not wet. But we'll get into that. So let's see what else. Okay, so yeah, it can show up in your teens, in your 20s, in your postpartum years, during high stress seasons, and even when things like in your life are looking healthy, like biologically, it can still happen. So healthy vaginal walls are kept lubricated by a thin layer of clear fluid. And estrogen plays a massive role in maintaining this fluid because it helps to keep the lining thick and elastic. That's why during menopause and perimenopause, women deal with vaginal dryness, because their estrogen levels decline during these years, which then plays a role in the vaginal lubrication, and that's decreased. And that women in perimenopause and menopause oftentimes deal with vaginal dryness and issues with sex. And there's another condition that comes from vaginal dryness. It's like, I forgot what it's called, but it's basically like really bad vaginal dryness during menopause. And so that's why that happens during that time period. So with my menopausal clients, we talk about eating phytoestrogen rich foods, which I'll go over later, and also consuming vaginal probiotics. Okay, I'm like out of breath as I'm talking. I need to like figure this out for myself. But estrogen also supports glycogen production in the vaginal tissue. So that helps with feeding the beneficial bacteria. So as I just mentioned, when estrogen drops, you're not just losing moisture, you're also losing microbial support too, aka the healthy bacteria. That's why I recommend during menopause or chronic seasons of vaginal dryness that you are consuming vaginal probiotics. And I do have a free vaginal supplement guide in which I go over, I think there's like 3 different probiotics in there that you can consume for vaginal health. One of them is for pregnancy, if you are pregnant dealing with recurring vaginal infection. So keep that in mind. So vaginal dryness is not just about not being wet enough during sex. It can actually feel like constant burning, itching, or raw sensation during everyday activities like walking or sitting. So some women may be thinking that they have recurring vaginal infections or imbalances when it can literally just be vaginal dryness. And so that's why it's really important to test and not just try random things you see on TikTok or online without really knowing what's going on with your vaginal microbiome. Because I see so many women, and I can't even blame them, because this was also me due to lack of information that was online or lack of healthcare. But women are trying so many different things to heal the vagina, and nothing is working. And you don't really know what's going on. So for example, I have a client who has been trying everything for years, and she's so tired of it. And when we got her every results, she had 97% dominant good bacteria, Lactobacillus crispatus, but she was having really, really bad vaginal symptoms for like years now. So I came up with the assumption that it has to be CV, which is cytolytic vaginosis. That's basically when you have too much good bacteria that it causes yeast infection like symptoms. So it can feel like really bad burning, itching, inflammation, rawness. You may see clumps of white stuff falling out in the toilet. So if you are testing negative for yeast, but you're having yeast infection symptoms, I would get checked for CV, because it comes from having too much good bacteria. So some women can describe it as a tight, stretched feeling, increased sensitivity to toilet paper or underwear, even a subtle dry friction feeling throughout the day. So that's basically what vaginal dryness is. Now, when it comes to the hidden risk, because there are risks of vaginal dryness, and a lot of women ignore it, thinking that it's not a big deal, but it actually can be a big deal, because vaginal dryness, especially if you're having sex or inserting tampons, this can lead to vaginal tears or fissures. So fissures are basically skin tears. So you can have anal fissures where like your ass can rip if you are constipated or not drinking enough water or fiber, or from anal sex or accidental anal penetration, which, trust me, that can happen. And so, because the tissue is dry and brittle, this can cause micro tears. So friction, whether it's from sex, tampons, or even tight clothing, can cause micro tears, which can lead to pain and bleeding. And these tears can be so small that you don't see them, but your body feels them, especially during urination or movement. And so if there's small tears in your vaginal walls that you don't know about, this can obviously lead to increased risk for infections, because when you have a cut on your hand, you cover it with a Band-Aid so it doesn't get infected. Well, if it's in your vagina, you can't put a Band-Aid in your vagina, so it's just cut tissue that's open, which can then lead to increased risk for infection. So the micro tears are basically open doors for bacteria. Dryness also alters your vaginal pH, which can increase the risk of UTIs, BV, other infections and imbalances. And it also reduces the protective mucus barrier, which normally traps and clears unwanted microbes in your vagina before they can colonize. So honestly, I'm not going to walk and do an episode again because I can't even fucking breathe. But the protective mucus barrier that we have in our vaginas is also for protection as well. So vaginal dryness, there's less protection, which means that you can have increased risk for infections. This can also put an impact, obviously, on sex and intimacy, because it can create a psychological barrier to intimacy, because when sex hurts, the body anticipates pain, and that creates a cycle of tension and further dryness. I have a YouTube video on how chronic vaginal dryness, or once you're done healing from vaginal infections, you can deal with like temporary vaginismus or temporary pelvic floor tension issues, because you're so scared of having sex again that your body braces and your pelvic floor tightens, and that can cause vaginal dryness or tightness to the point where you can't even tolerate penetration or it's really uncomfortable. And so this is why with vaginal health, it's so important to see different specialists. Like you have a pelvic floor therapist, you have me, a vaginal health dietitian, you have GYNs. You want to get wide perspectives on things, because there can be so many different things, right? So when you are bracing yourself before sex because your nervous system is not regulated and you're scared of getting an infection, or you're scared that's going to hurt, that in itself is going to cause dryness, because for you to have sex, you need to be in a happy, like a good, pleasurable mood. You need to be aroused. You need to be in that mood. But if you're not aroused and you're not in the mood and you're also not feeling confident and you're dealing with these things, and obviously it's not going to be a good experience at all. And so that's why who you have sex with is really important. Also the connection you guys have, if you trust this person or not, because all of those play a role. If you do not feel safe in your body, you're not going to feel that safe with a partner. And if you don't feel safe with a partner, you're definitely not going to feel safe with them in your body. So it's really important that you are mindful of who you are having intimacy with, and that you trust them and that they make you feel safe. And also it's important that they also prioritize your pleasure, because a lot of the times women think that their vagina is broken because they can't get wet, when in reality there's the men that they're having sex with are rushing into their vaginas. They're not doing any foreplay. There's no kissing. There's no intimacy. And then that you expect yourself to be wet. Like, I understand if you're young and hot and popping, like in college, it's when you're like, just like, there's no other word but ripe. Like when you're ripe and you're young, obviously there's a difference. But then as you get older, women typically need more foreplay. Like that's why they always say before you drive a car, heat the engine up first. So women benefit from foreplay. Men can jump into things, sure, but women need foreplay. They need intimacy. They need to be played with or touched. Whatever the woman's love language is what she will really need before sex. And at least 15-20 minutes of foreplay can really bring you a long way versus no foreplay at all. So if you're with a man who doesn't like foreplay, doesn't want to do it, and then you're experiencing vaginal dryness because of it, then find a new man, find a new dick, because it is not that serious. And there's no reason why men should be so thirsty that they're just rushing into your vaginas without even trying to make sure that you're good first. Find a good man who prioritizes your pleasure, that likes foreplay, and wants to make sure that you're comfortable before having sex. Because if they don't care about you and they don't care about your pleasure, there's no reason why they should be in your body, period. So while there are biological causes of vaginal dryness, who you sleep with and your partner also makes a really big difference as well. And so back to nervous system regulation, when your nervous system is regulated, that can cause vaginal dryness because your body, sex is a pleasurable activity. So your body wants to feel safe and good before sex. So if you're not in a good mental state, your nervous system is fried, you're nervous about having sex, you're scared about this partner, and you have all these fears, then obviously that's going to not make you wet, because why would your body be wet when you're having a whole bunch of mental chaos in your mind? So if you feel like vaginal dryness is contributing to you having vaginismus, or vice versa, because they are interconnected, or if you feel like you're having pain penetration, it is worth speaking with a pelvic floor physical therapist, or seeing one, or following someone on Instagram like Vagina Rehab Doctor. There's other ones I follow, but I can't remember their names. And she also has her own podcast as well. So yeah, just keep that in mind. But vaginal dryness can impact intimacy because it can lead to issues in the relationship. It can lead to pain during sex, which women should not be feeling pain during sex. It should be a pleasurable experience for both parties, or if there's more than one party involved. So keep that in mind. So what causes vaginal dryness? You obviously have hormonal shifts. So when estrogen levels drop during menopause or perimenopause, this can be a leading cause. It can also happen during postpartum, while breastfeeding, or during cancer treatment. So it can also happen when you are under eating, if you are over exercising, if you have low body fat, and when the body perceives stress, it downregulates reproductive hormones. Because as I mentioned to you guys before, your body prioritizes what it deems as the most important organs or systems in your body when you're stressed. So when you are stressed, you naturally lose blood flow to certain parts of your body because your body doesn't think it's that important, and it prioritizes the brain or the heart to have the most blood flow, and decreases blood flow to like your digestive system or your reproductive system. That's why women who are chronically stressed typically have gut health issues like IBS and things like that, because there's other reasons, but one of them is that there's a lack of blood flow to that digestive system. So when you're under eating, so if you're dieting extremely, or there's lack of diversity in your diet, you're overly exercising, because that can cause stress and high cortisol, and that can lead to weight gain as well, and vaginal dryness, low body fat. All of these things can contribute to hormonal imbalances, which can also lead to vaginal dryness. You also have a lifestyle and products. So for one, lifestyle, if you're having sex with a fan on your vagina or an AC on your vagina, or let's say you're in the car having sex and the AC is on your vagina, all of that is going to cause vaginal dryness for sure. You also have excessive use of harsh soaps, bubble baths, and douching, which can strip your natural moisture. Feminine washes oftentimes can disrupt your lipid barrier and microbiome if used too frequently, which is why I never recommend washes. If you want to use a natural wash, I only recommend diluted ACV water or lime water, because it helps with naturally getting rid of odor. Let's see where I'm up to, because I have my notes on my phone. So yeah, that's it for lifestyle and products. Then for medication, sometimes allergy and cold medications like antihistamines, those are designed to dry up mucus, and so they don't discriminate between what kind of mucus. So they can dry up your vaginal mucus. Certain birth control, which I'm very anti-birth control. I've been on birth control throughout high school and in college. I'm not on it anymore, but I do not believe in birth control for women. I believe in it if there's financial reasons. So for example, if you cannot afford to eat as healthy as you want to in the season of your life, or maybe you're too busy with school and you're in a busy season of your life where birth control can just help you to manage and get by, sure. But if you have time to eat healthy, if you have money to eat healthy, if you have the resources to rebalance your body naturally and eat healthy, then I'm very anti-birth control, because birth control depletes so many vitamins and minerals and leads to other diseases and conditions. That's why women can get on birth control, get off of it, all of a sudden they have PCOS, they have endometriosis, they have really bad acne. So I don't believe in birth control at all for just casual use. Also, obviously, for protection from pregnancy, that's fine also. But in general, you want to really be mindful before taking birth control, because if you have the means to naturally heal your body and rebalance your hormones, you can, because the body is designed to heal. Medications are not designed to heal you. They're meant to temporarily support you. But before medications, there were plants and there were herbs and there were food. And that's what our ancestors used to heal their bodies. Did they have the access to healthcare resources like we do now? No. That's why a lot of them had shorter lifespans, but they were able to get by and heal themselves with these things, which is why we're all here today. So with that being said, I'm very anti-birth control for that reason. And birth control can just cause so many issues. Like, it really plays a really big role on your minerals and your vitamins. Not a big role, but like a bad role, because it can really deplete a lot of things in your body. And so birth controls, of course, and certain antidepressants can also contribute to vaginal dryness. You also have medications like decongestants, some acne treatments, and also hormonal IUDs, and some of them can also contribute to vaginal dryness. So if you're dealing with that and you're on any of these, then I would definitely reconsider and talk to your doctor. But doctors don't know about natural healing unless they're a functional doctor or a naturopathic doctor. So just keep that in mind, because if you're going to a regular doctor telling them that you want to be natural, they're probably gonna look at you like you're crazy, because that's just not what they're trained in. So you be mindful of that. Then you have stress and anxiety. So high cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone, and it's naturally high in the morning because its job is to wake you up and keep you awake. When you like wake up without eating first, like within the first hour waking up, and you go for a long period of time skipping breakfast, not eating, you are keeping your cortisol level spiked, which can lead to internal stress in the body, more anxiety, and it can also lead to blood sugar spikes, which can contribute to insulin resistance and weight gain in your stomach area and different things like that. So with high stress and cortisol, when you're stressed, your body is not naturally thinking about sex. If it is, you might be a little crazy, but it's fine. With that being said, you want to prioritize being as stress-free as possible and as peaceful as possible, because high cortisol and stress can interfere with arousal, which can reduce the blood flow to the pelvic area, and that can cause, obviously, vaginal dryness. Chronic stress pulls away the non-essential functions, like I told you guys, like reproduction and lubrication, putting your body into survival mode instead of thriving mode. So stress can naturally dehydrate your vagina and cause vaginal dryness. I'm sure there's other causes of vaginal dryness as well, but these are just like the main popular ones. But like I told you guys before, a man plays a really big role in that as well. So vet your partners properly. Now, how to actually heal vaginal dryness. This is the 4 things that I always tell women to prioritize when it comes to vaginal dryness. If you want to get to the root cause of maybe you feel like you have an imbalance or something, I do recommend testing with Evie, because they test for over 700 microbes a normal GYN does not test for. And I have a link in my bio to get $20 off for your first Evie order. Evie is what I use to get to the root cause of my recurring vaginal infections. And I was able to heal it in 7 days. So I recommend Evie for everybody, including all of my clients. I do receive commission from my link with Evie, just so you guys are aware. But I use Evie for me and my clients. So I don't recommend anything that I don't use, just so you guys are aware, or have used in the past. So Evie can be helpful to get a root cause test for like vaginal imbalances or infections. Or if you think it's a pelvic floor issue, I would see a pelvic floor physical therapist. Evie can also check for STs as well. So number 1, we have fats. So fats are demonized because lots of people think that you can't eat fats because of your weight gain or whatever, but fats are extremely essential for the female body, specifically because fats play a really big role in your hormones. And so your cell membranes and your hormones are literally made from fat. So if you want a low-fat diet, your body cannot produce the necessary lubrication or maintain tissue elasticity. So low-fat diets can directly contribute to vaginal dryness. And if you have a fast metabolism, you actually benefit from having a high-fat diet, because your body burns through minerals so fast. So high metabolism, I have a full episode on fast versus slow metabolism, how to tell if you have one or the other, the signs, and how to eat for your body type. Oh my gosh, I can't talk right now. How to eat for your body type specifically, because if you have a fast metabolism, you should be prioritizing more fats, because your body burns through minerals really, really fast. And if you have a slow metabolism, you should be prioritizing low fats, because your body is a little bit sluggish. So for me, I always, throughout my whole entire life, had a fast metabolism. And I've now learned recently from taking different courses that this can actually be very harmful, because it was the reason why I was having really bad, heavy, painful periods. It was also contributing to my iron deficiency anemia. And so the last few months, I have been eating a really high fat, high protein, low carb diet. So technically keto, but I'm not even going to go into keto because keto is not um, a diet that should be recommended for weight loss. Particularly, it should be for specific medical reasons. But ever since doing a high fat, high protein diet for me, low carb, my periods have improved. I've had way less clotting. I'm on my period right now. I did not throw up on my period this time. I did not have severe clotting or heavy bleeding because the fats have helped with my hormone stability and helped me to actually keep my minerals instead of burning through them really fast. So if you have issues with your metabolism, check that episode out for sure. But fats really play a huge role in vaginal lubrication and the tissue elasticity. So fats also support prostaglandin production, which influences inflammation, blood flow, and tissue repair. So prostaglandin is the pain chemical that is released during your period and also during labor that tells your body to contract. And so if you have lots of really bad cramps, that means that you have a high prostaglandin load. Fats can help to blunt that load so that you don't have that much pain during your period as well. That's why it helps to reduce inflammation, improve blood flow, and help with tissue repair. But the fats you want to prioritize are the omega-3 fatty acids and the monounsaturated fats. And you also have fats like sea buckthorn oil. So omega-3 fatty acids can come from the acronym SMASH, which are fatty fish, wild caught, but prioritize wild caught is what I meant. But you have salmon, you have sardines, you also have, SMASH, salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring. Those are the 5 fatty fish. Prioritize them non-smoked, like 3 times a week is good. You also have things like flax seeds and walnuts. These are all really anti-inflammatory and can also boost your hydration. They also improve cell membrane fluidity, allowing cells to retain water more effectively. Then you also have monounsaturated fats. So these come from like extra virgin olive oil or avocados. This can help to maintain your skin and tissue integrity. And these fats also support collagen structure and protect you against oxidative stress. So in general, fats can come from fatty fish, like the SMASH acronym. It can come from nuts, seeds, avocado oil, olive oil, pasture-raised eggs. When it comes to the healthier saturated fats that you can consume, saturated fats are the ones that clog your arteries if they're consumed in excess. But small amounts in your diet supports your hormones and your skin health, and it can also support your iron health, because these healthy saturated fats like grass-fed butter, grass-fed ghee, they're really high in vitamins A, D, a beach in my face. They're really high in vitamins A, D, E, and K, which are the fat-soluble vitamins that can help your body to function better. And also vitamin A helps with the absorption of iron in your body. And vitamin D is really important, as we know, for mental health, hormone health, skin health. Vitamin E, same thing. So fat-soluble vitamins, you can get a lot of them in grass-fed butter or grass-fed ghee. But those are saturated fats. So keep them in moderation, but still keep them as a part of your diet. Let's see what else. I think that's it for fats. Okay, then you have things like sea buckthorn oil. So this one is really high in omega-7, which has been clinically shown to improve the health of mucous membranes and relieve vaginal dryness. So it specifically targets epithelial tissue regeneration, making it one of the most unique oils for this concern. So I have seen women do sea buckthorn oil suppositories and stuff. I haven't found a good brand for that, so I don't know of one, but that can be helpful. And the fats you want to minimize are the highly processed seed oils that can cause inflammation. So just to give you guys a brief rundown on seed oils, we have omega-3s, we have omega-6, we have omega-9s, 7s. I'm going to focus on 3 and 6 for now. Omega-3s are anti-inflammatory. Omega-6s are pro-inflammatory. So that's why you want to have a higher ratio of omega-3s in your diet versus omega-6s, because omega-6s can be pro-inflammatory. That's why they say to avoid seed oils, but we still do need seed oils in our diet, but you need a little amount of it. You need more omega-3s versus omega-6s. So you don't have to cut out all seed oils, just have more omega-3s in your diet. So yeah, just keep a good balance. Well, an uneven balance of high omega-3s, low omega-6s in your diet to help with improving vaginal dryness and irritation over time. So number 1 is fats. Make sure you have a fat with all your meals. And including in your shakes and in your smoothies, you should always have a fat in it to help you. Then, two, hydration. So hydration obviously plays a really big role in vaginal lubrication because our bodily fluids are primarily made up of water. And so if you drink more fluids, it can contribute to vaginal hydration. And the amount of fluids you drink today impacts how wet you are the next day. So if you know you're about to bone tomorrow or whatever, make sure that you are hydrated today with fluids. And I tell all my clients, unless you have a fluid restriction because of kidney disease or whatever, drink half your body weight in ounces daily. So if you weigh 140 pounds, aim for 70 fluid ounces a day of water. That should be your baseline, and your needs may increase with exercise or caffeine intake or warmer climates. You also don't have to just drink plain water. Chugging plain water can actually run through you because there's no electrolytes. When you have electrolytes in your water, your cells can actually hold on to the water. Otherwise, if not, you're just peeing out the water. That's why people drink a lot of water and they start peeing excessively because there's no electrolytes in the water. So a quick way to add electrolyte to all your water is adding, I tell all my clients, a pinch of sea salt, some lemon juice or any citrus juice like grapefruit juice or lemon juice or lime juice with a pinch of sea salt. And also something else I'm missing. Sea salt, the citrus juice, also a sprinkle or a pinch of cream of tartar because that's really high in potassium. The salt gives you sodium, and the citrus juice can give you some other trace minerals as well. If you have magnesium powder, you can also add that into your water, make like a nice mineral mocktail. You can also get electrolyte drops, not the ones that have sugar, just plain ones like concentrates. I do have a full script storefront with a link that you can go and make an account and order your own drops or any of your own supplements if you want. With my storefront, you do have a discount of your first order is 30% off, and all the other following orders are 20% off. I also get commission from that as well, but in exchange, you guys get that discount. So I offer the concentrates mineral drops on my full script storefront that you can also get, and then you can use that and combine that with the sea salt, the citrus juice, and cream of tartar. So keep that in mind. So electrolyte-rich water is really, really, really important because it helps your cells to absorb water, and then it helps you with getting minerals like sodium, potassium, magnesium into your body because these help to drive water into the cells instead of it just being excreted really quickly through your pee. So you have electrolyte water, you have okra water. Okra water is really great because it's naturally slimy, so it helps to naturally give that more of that mucilage support. And so soaking okra in water overnight creates a gel-like drink that can coat and hydrate the mucous membranes from the inside out. That's why they recommend okra water throughout pregnancy, so that you can ensure that your womb space is lubricated enough so the baby can have a better chance of slipping out versus you being in really bad labor pain. So okra water has been used for centuries amongst different cultures, but you can actually consume okra water once a day if you wanted to help support with vaginal hydration. Then you have other hydrating options that can count, like coconut water, because coconut water is a natural Gatorade. It's naturally high in electrolytes. Make sure that there's no added sugar. You have herbal teas, which I'm going to go over some examples of herbal teas specifically for vaginal dryness. Then you have mineral or electrolyte water. And then water-rich fruits and vegetables count towards your hydration as well, like watermelon and cucumber. And then bone broth can also count towards hydration as well. Bone broth is actually great because it's really high in collagen and glutamine, which can help to support your gut lining and also your vaginal elasticity and vaginal lubrication as well because of that collagen. So bone broth is great. Just make sure that you're either making it yourself or you're getting it from the fridge, not the shelf. So now when it comes to mucilage producing herbs that you can drink as a tea, that can be really helpful for increasing vaginal lubrication. You have slippery elm, marshmallow root, and aloe vera leaf, and also licorice root. So just to go over really quickly, what is mucilage? Mucilage is a thick gray substance produced by certain plants. So when ingested, it can help to soothe and moisten the mucous membranes throughout the entire body, including the gut and the vagina. So think of it as like an internal lubrication, and it supports both gut lining and vaginal tissue simultaneously and other linings in your body. So it can also support like your esophageal lining if you have acid reflux. It can support other linings in the body as well. So slippery elm can coat and protect inflamed tissues, especially helpful if dryness is paired with irritation or micro tears. So you can get the actual herb or you can get a tea bag. You also have marshmallow root. I recommend marshmallow root the most to my clients. I don't know why, but marshmallow root is an excellent cooling, moistening herb. And it can also, it's often taken as a cold brew tea, but it doesn't matter if it's warm or cold. but it's best prepared as a cold infusion to preserve its mucilage content. So you can make like your own iced marshmallow root tea. You can find that as a dry herb or a loose leaf or a tea bag, whatever. Then you have licorice root, but with licorice root, you have to be mindful. I think there's an interaction between licorice root and if you're on a hypertensive or high blood pressure medication. So if that's the case, you have to get a specific kind of licorice root. I think it's called a DGL licorice. That can be helpful, but keep that in mind. I personally don't like the taste of licorice, so I don't usually recommend it. But if you like licorice, then that's fine. Just make sure that if you're on a medication, just check for interactions. Then you have aloe vera. The inner leaf juice is highly hydrating and soothing to your epithelial tissues. It also supports your gut lining, which indirectly supports vaginal health through the gut-vagina axis. So these herbs are commonly found in blends like the throat coat tea. You get over the counter, or you can get any of them individually and drink it that way on a daily basis. But of course, everything in moderation. So keep that in mind. So far we went over fats, we went over hydration, we went over the mucilage producing herbs that you can consume every single day. Two more things I want to recommend is number one, probiotics. So probiotics help with supporting your vaginal pH, as you all already know. So a healthy vaginal pH has a pH around 3.8 to 4.5. And so good bacteria, particularly lactobacillus, can produce lactic acid to keep it that way in that vaginal pH range. So lactobacillus also produces hydrogen peroxide and bacteriocins, which can help to actively fight off harmful microbes. So that's the goal of lactobacillus, is to protect your vagina from these things. And so dryness can actually disrupt this, because without adequate moisture, these good bacteria cannot thrive. And it allows bad bacteria and yeast to take over. So vaginal dryness can increase the risk of infections because these things typically thrive in a dry environment. Sometimes, not all. Yeast infections, like obviously that comes from moisture, but I just explained everything, so I'm not even going to re-explain it again. But basically, without adequate moisture, the good bacteria in your vagina cannot thrive, and that can allow for the bad bacteria and yeast to overgrow. So moisture is a part of the ecosystem. Without it, the whole ecosystem can basically become more hospitable for protective species. So what to look for when it comes to probiotics, definitely always check for strains like L. rhamnosus and L. reuteri, which have been heavily researched for vaginal health. There is a U.S. probiotic guide that you can look at to get recommendations for vaginal probiotics, but I give recommendations in the free vaginal guide that I have, the supplement guide that I have. But basically look for strains that have L. rhamnosus, L. reuteri, and L. crispatus, which are in the probiotics that I recommend in my free vaginal supplement guide. And so consistent intake is key, so daily intake, and also through either supplements and fermented foods. Obviously, both is great, but you don't want to overdo it so that you don't get CV. I have an episode on probiotics and what they are and how they work. So if you have more questions on that, check out that episode. But lastly, we have phytoestrogen-rich foods. And this one gets a lot of like shit in the media because people are like, Black women shouldn't be consuming soy and soy is so bad for you and yada, yada, yada. But I don't believe soy is bad for you because Asians have the highest population of centennials, which are people that live past 100 years old, and the primary ingredient in their diet is soy. Soy also is a phytoestrogen, and it's also a natural source of high protein. So I love soy milk, and I don't mind soy products at all. So I'm definitely not anti-soy, but phytoestrogens are basically these compounds in your food that act as a weak version of estrogen. So they mimic estrogen in the body, but they're not actually estrogen, and it can actually help to support natural healthy estrogen levels if you're either low in estrogen. And I also believe if it's high, it can help to bring it into equilibrium or into balance. So to give you a better definition, they are plant-derived compounds that can weakly mimic estrogen in the body, helping to plump up dry tissues without the intensity of hormone replacement therapy. So basically, they bind to estrogen receptors and can provide a subtle supportive effect, especially in low estrogen states, like I just told you guys. So these foods can be really helpful when dealing with estrogen drops or low estrogen. And they can come from organic, non-GMO soy, like edamame, tempeh, also things like flax seeds, avocados, sesame seeds, garlic, and cruciferous vegetables are really high in phytoestrogens. Flax seeds specifically are really powerful because they also provide you with omega-3s and other nutrients, and can be like a 2-for-1 special with hormone balance and hydration. So these are all the tips that I have for vaginal lubrication and for alleviating vaginal dryness. Like I told you guys, if you want to get to the root cause, consider a test with Evie, or see a pelvic floor physical therapist, or you can also actually get a Dutch test by a functional doctor or a naturopathic doctor. They offer that because doctors won't order it for you if they don't know how to interpret it. So I recommend Dutch test. I also offer that in my Vaj Reset Advance program if you want that Dutch test. But a Dutch test can help you get to the root cause. An HTMA test, that's a hair tissue mineral analysis test, an EVI test, or seeing a pelvic floor physical therapist, or me, a vaginal health dietitian that works with me down below. So you can either get to the root cause, or you can try any of what I recommended here, which would be increasing your fats, your hydration, your mucilage supporting herbs and drinks, and then also phytoestrogen rich foods and probiotics. So I hope that gave you guys a really great breakdown and run through of how to support vaginal lubrication. As mentioned already, there are ways to work with me down below. I just released a brand new 5-day meal plan of vaginal healthy meals that can also help to support lubrication as well. I'm going to be adding drinks into that meal plan as well. So just to give you guys some drink ideas. But yeah, I had that new 5-day meal plan. And then to follow me on any platforms, everything's all in my link tree. But I think that's pretty much it for today's episode. Let me think one more time before I forget anything. That's it. If you ever want to catch me live to ask questions, I do go live every Friday in my Patreon. We have live Q&A Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's a great way to catch me to ask questions. But otherwise, that's pretty much it. I will see you guys all in the next episode. Bye, everyone.